Have you ever walked out of a meeting replaying everything your boss said in that meeting, feeling humiliated, frozen, and angry? Maybe they corrected you in a weird way publicly. Maybe they made you look bad in front of leadership. Maybe they literally threw you under the bus. And very often our first instinct is, I need to defend myself right now. This is especially if you're more the fighter kind of person in a survival mode. Versus other people, they're freezing and fawning, or even want to flee, and all they want is like go out of that room and never ever come back. No matter which type you are, and especially if you're the one that wants to talk back in the moment, I want to tell you this. The moment you escalate in public, especially when it's an emotional escalation, the moment that happens, the moment people will believe the narrative of the toxic boss, because it makes you usually look very unprofessional and it might destroy future opportunities without you even wanting to. So today we're going to talk about this important topic of how to handle criticism professionally without becoming reactive in any kind of way, so that you don't add more fuel to something that your boss wants to create, which is a narrative around you, the work that you do, and who you are as a professional in a way that does not serve you. In order to do so, we're going to reconnect to some of the principles from the all-time bestseller, How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie, a book that absolutely every high performer needs to read. Toxic workplace or not, this is a genius book that everybody needs to understand, especially in toxic workplaces, and when working with challenging characters, this is going to be a game changer. So I'm going to link it down below here. Hi, my name is Fela Rosa. Welcome to the Corporate Warriors podcast. If you like this episode, make sure that you like and subscribe. We are here to create career success without selling your soul, and also forward it to somebody that might need to hear this. Let's start with the first important step. We need to understand what is actually happening. And this is difficult, right? Because you're in a situation right now, and in the moment you want to act. But we need to see things on a broader scheme. Why? Because not all managers that are doing something that is not perfect are directly toxic. You know, there might be a lot going on. People have poor communication. They might be very stressed. They might literally be in survival mode themselves, right? They might be emotionally kind of immature because most people never learned how to deal and work through their emotions. Disorganized, threatened, whatever it is. Now, this is not an excuse for doing something horrible to you, but I want to make the distinction between a negative event that happened once versus a clear pattern that this is not okay and there's clear toxicity going on. Because especially repeated public humiliation has bad consequences. Very often there's this erosion of confidence, this hypervigilance mode, right? This fear before meetings, the fear before actually being in the possible situation of being exposed, even if you did literally everything right. And what does it do? It leads to people then trying to basically censor themselves, try not to say it as much, try not to be present and visible as much. So if you're doing that, you're basically indirectly helping your toxic boss, because now you impede your own career success, especially if you're working in a bigger organization where side steps or steps up in another department or business unit would be possible. And now let's move to the mistake that high performers can actually make. It's kind of trying to win this quote unquote argument in the moment. The problem with this is that if you try to correct somebody in the heat of the moment, it can sound aggressive, right? So even if you really want to react out of the emotion, and even if you are completely right, it is now really important to include the teachings of Dale Carnegie. And the problem is, it is public, right? It is public humiliation. So that makes everything a little different. And as you can exactly feel right now, because you are being publicly humiliated, you can directly see that this is the opposite. This is not creating friends. This is literally creating enemies, because now you sit there and you have your boss or the person that said something as your direct enemy. But if you shoot back the same way, react with sarcasm or any of these things, you will also be seen as just as bad, if not worse, because kind of the last interaction is what kind of sticks most with people. And also you don't know how your boss will react. Perhaps they will take a defensive step back, meaning like, oh, I didn't mean to do it like that. So they look like the person that, oh, oopsie, whoopsie, I did a little mistake, versus you who is now the aggressive one. Right? So you actually created a very negative narrative around you that might and probably will be used against you. So what would Dale Carnegie tell us to do? He tells you not to be weak, but to be very strategic. And strategy should always come from a calm place. So the question that you should ask yourself is not how do I fire back, but how do I protect my credibility and my reputation, and therefore also long-term career success right now in this moment. So first, let's slow down your response. You need to be calm, right? The good news is your nervous system already thinks or believes that you are calm when you breathe out longer than you breathe in. Okay, so make sure that you give yourself the time and the grace of at least one nice breath out. So in, of course, a little bit, right? But then a long calming breath out. It can just take 2 seconds, but it will reset you. It's just like in a presentation when we do a mistake. Don't hurtle into resolving it, but okay, and then you go. All right? So take one tiny micro step back to make sure your system is calm. You can have your hands touch the table so that you feel something. You can feel your feet on the ground. You can have this one breath. You can take a sip of water. Just buy yourself like a few seconds of time in which you can consciously calm your system down. Now, say something, right? I don't say anything and wait for stuff to happen, but say it from a very low emotional temperature, instead of being like, that's not true, I did this and you said that, and that makes you look very unprofessional. Instead, rather have like one sentence ready. You can have the same sentence and use it over and over and over in similar situations. You don't need to be creative. Just use one sentence. Something like, I'd love to clarify the context here before we move on. And then facts only, calm, neutral. Make sure your body language signals that too. Like lean back, be like very calm. Don't be like in like a, this alert state. It makes you look very unprofessional. Lean forward, but in a calm way and be like, look, I want to clarify the context first before we move on, just to be sure that we're all on the same page. And once you've said that, if they're like, oh, we don't have time, then you say, that is not a problem. I will set up a new meeting with you and the core people to clarify this. Anybody else from leadership wants to be involved, or should we just send a follow-up email after? Okay, done. And then you can totally set it up. So you don't even have to explain everything in the moment, but you need to create this like communication boundary where you clearly signal in a very calm state, you do not agree with this. This might be a perception issue and not a you did something wrong problem, okay? So just that everybody, when they walk out of the meeting, they're like, they don't really necessarily think, oh, they did something wrong and they got exposed, right? Because this is what sticks with people. They will just remember that kind of something was off around you, like you did something wrong, okay? And then it can be used later and it will add to the story that your toxic boss is trying to spin. But if you're very calm and you're leaning forward and take a breath and be like, oh, that's interesting. Let us clarify that. It was not meant to be that way. Or perhaps there's a misunderstanding here that we absolutely need to clarify. We can do that now if you want to, or we can totally have that in a separate call and send a follow-up email later. Some more sentences that you can use. I think we're missing a little bit of context here. I hear the concern. I'd love to clarify. Let's go through the specifics together to make sure we're all on the same page. You can use them all the time. In the next step, make sure that there's a strategic follow-up. It often matters even more than the in the moment. In the moment, what matters is that you don't come across as overly emotional or in any way unprofessional. And now you can use some time and calming yourself, right, to then do a strategic follow-up. So you make sure that even from this meeting, you follow up in writing, just like I said before, right? You can propose that even, okay, let's clarify that on a separate call and we're gonna send a follow-up email, or I'm gonna send a follow-up email to everybody so that you take responsibility again also for the narrative, right? Don't hand it over to somebody that throws you under the bus in front of everyone. Make sure that you stay ahead of it. So if you announce to a whole leadership panel that you will send a follow-up email, your toxic boss cannot keep you from doing that. It would make them look bad, right? So now you set yourself up for success without asking anybody to be set up for success, you doing it yourself. So sending this email will make sure that your reputation is protected in the long run, especially in front of the people that you wanted to be intact. Make sure that you make this clear distinction between what is a one-time kind of thing, everybody makes mistake, versus what is a clear pattern of toxic behaviors like repeated public shaming, humiliation, exclusion, blame shifting, shifting narratives, idea stealing, credit taking, political isolation, okay? When those things become patterns and not one-time occurrences, this is when you need to really understand you are in a toxic workplace, you're not set up for success, so you need to start to take strategic action for yourself. You need to start documenting using your support systems and set up a system and process for you to navigate through that and out of it, because over time, staying in toxicity, it's just not healthy. You can be the best warrior out there. Being surrounded by toxicity over time, it does get to us. So you need to be sure that you're ahead of this and you don't become a passive, reactive player in your own career. Your future literally depends on this. If you want to go through this, also work through some fears or blocks that you might have in doing that. If you're still thinking that leaving now would be a failure, if you're deeply afraid that your self-worth got impacted, make sure to get support on your side, work with a therapist, or if you want, check out the link down below and see what I do with the high performers navigating through and out of toxic workplaces. My work goes way deeper than what quote unquote other career coaches do. So check it out, watch the video and see if it's something for you. If that's the case, I would gladly get to know you in a call. And if not, and it was just a helpful episode for you to put the dots together, make sure that you like and subscribe. It means the world to me and it costs you literally nothing. So please do that. And I'm going to see you back in the next one. Oh, I nearly forgot. And also there's a free politics guide down here that you can download if you feel like that is something you want to learn more about. So click the link down below and make sure to come back next time to the Corporate Warriors podcast. Bye.